This week, well, the start of the week I was still really recovering. It's amazing how long it's taken me to recover from that long ride. It sort of shows the shape I was in, but it also shows that you have to start from where you are rather than start from where you want to be or where you think you might be. You need to sort of, well, I need to forget about the past and forget about how fast I could go in the past, which wasn't amazingly fast, but it was faster than I am now, and start to think about where am I now. I need plenty of recovery. I'm not super young anymore, but there's no reason why I can't perform fairly well. And the turning point was probably the interval session that I did on Wednesday, which Clare talks about.
Today, when he did the interval session, that seemed to go really well. In actual fact, he was working a bit harder than planned. He'd forgotten to change the FTP in Zwift, so that was actually set higher than expected. And you can see that if you have a bit of a dive into the actual session, that the power was a little bit over the planned power.
And I've been stupid enough not to change the FTP in Zwift. Zwift and Training Peaks have to have the same FTP because they work on percentage of FTP. So if you forget to change it in Zwift, then you get the wrong powers coming through. And mine was about 10 or 12 watts higher in Zwift. So my efforts, because they were at 100% FTP, were 10 or 12 watts higher than they should have been. And struggling to get through it reminded me about the mental resilience that you build up with training, as well as the physical adaptations that you have. And my video on Wednesday coming up, I think that's the 8th of November maybe, is about routine and how actually routine and getting these training sessions done can build mental toughness as well as physical fitness.
One of the things that John has been thinking about quite a lot recently, I think he's also done a video on it, or is going to do a video on it, is this idea of routine and how that can promote mental toughness. And I think for John, we have managed to get a good routine going, which has been adaptable enough for us to react when he needs to take more rest. But actually having that routine in place is really helpful. And in some respects, doing harder sessions on a bike trainer can help, I think, with mental toughness, because you haven't really got an awful lot to take your mind off the hard work that you're doing, and that can create some toughness, which I have noticed directly. Certainly in my own practice, I will think when I'm on a hard climb, oh, well, this isn't as hard or as uncomfortable as that Zwift climb that I did, or that Zwift session that I did.
So the interval session went well. I got through it 4 by 5 minutes with 2 minutes recovery, and I got a rest day on Thursday. And then today I rode with Stephen on our Zwift ride, our group ride, and that was a bit faster than usual. So things are looking pretty good. I'm not going to have a big weekend. And then I think Claire's planned me a fairly easy week for next week.
I've made next week really easy, building on some of the experience from the previous test ride, where we needed to wind things down quite a lot. So hopefully John will not do too much this weekend in his long ride, just enough to get some stimulus, and then recover a little bit on Monday and Tuesday. I've given him the option on Wednesday of some harder efforts if he wants, but it's very unstructured. So the idea is that he goes to feel, and if he's outside and he feels like he wants to push for a little bit, push a little climb or something like that, he can do. But if he's feeling tired, he can just go easy for the whole ride. The main premise to bear in mind, which experienced athletes can usually do, is whatever you do, it doesn't interfere with the general goal of recovery.
One thing to bring out actually is that Claire's been really helpful. Asking her to help me is really a really good move. I probably would have overdone it, thinking, oh, I should be recovered by now. But she seemed to spot that I was going to be tired. I suppose she knows me very well. And she's backed off the training quite a lot. We had to back it off even more last weekend than even she'd planned because I was still quite tired. But having her in it with me to be objective has made a big difference. As a coach, I find it fairly easy to be objective and make objective decisions and take account of the data as well as the emotional relationship that I have with the clients that I have. But for myself, I find it quite difficult to be objective, and I spend ages overthinking it, thinking, oh, should I be training, should I be resting? And I either end up doing too little or too much. So it's been great to have a coach, and this is the first time it's really worked effectively, because I've tried coaches in the past and it's not worked out. So a week on Saturday I've got another long ride, and I've been starting to think about that, where to do it, where's the best place and how to do it. And there's an event near the coast in April and the router for that's a 200 and the route for that's online. So I've taken that and I've cut it down. It's fairly flat. I think it's got about 1,200 metres of climbing in the 165 kilometres that I'm planning to do. 165 kilometres is getting close to my longest ride ever, so it's going to be, I'm a bit scared actually, to be honest. And I've been looking at things like rolling resistance, wind resistance, aerodynamics, and seeing whether I can make it easier for myself. So what I found is on this site, bicyclerollingresistance.com, which they test lots of different tyres, I found that if I change from the gravel tyres that I've got on the bike that I've been using to a road tyre, I'm going to save maybe 10 watts, which is a hell of a lot at the powers that I'm putting out for this type of event. I think I averaged 150 watts normalised power and about 120, 130 watts average power. So 10 watts is, well, it's getting on for 10%. And I used a tool called Best Bike Split, which is, it's really designed to create a power model for time trialing, but it works actually quite well for, it even works quite well for off-road stuff, but you have to fiddle about to make sure it works for you personally. And what Best Bike Split is predicting is when I get to the 200 kilometres, that I'll be about an hour faster. If I just change from the not heavily treaded gravel tyres that I've got on my bike to a Grand Prix 5000 all-season tyre, which is still a pretty good winter tyre and should work on the gravel around here. And so therefore I'm going to do that, make it a bit easier. And then after this ride, I'll see if I can improve things a bit more by looking into aerodynamics a bit. So, seemed to be recovered, did a good interval session, going to take it easy at the weekend, and looking forward to the long ride, although I'm a bit scared. I'll see you next time.